Hey, what's up, guys? How you doing? Jordan Hardison, CEO of AIO Church. I'm here today doing something a little bit different. I'm bringing you into a coding session here as we're working on the AIO platform. We've got a couple new things being worked on, and this is just a completely different format. Giving this a try, I want to show you what it looks like to be in it. Right now, I am in New Jersey on a trip coding from the hotel room, which I think is absolutely amazing that we can continue to work like that. So we're going to give this a try, see what you think on this new Code With Me platform. And I'm going to talk about what I'm thinking, why I'm doing what I'm doing, why am I talking to the AI the way that I'm talking to the AI. And then I'm also going to kind of think through this process with you out loud. And then there might be sessions where I'm a little quiet, but definitely jump into the comments if you have any thoughts, comments, jump in there, and let's get to work on this. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take into AIO Assist. And so this is the primary coding platform that's being used. This is a product that we built, and there's a couple different things that I'm trying to work on at the moment right now. One of those things is I'm working on being able to remote into AIO Assist. So I'm actually supposed to go to New York City later today. I want to be able to remote into AIO Assist and to be able to keep coding, and I want it to stay an open session on my desktop where I jump in and just remote into the phone and do it. And then the other thing on the AIO platform on the leads side is we are integrating the automation end to end for the AI to be able to handle the initial leads as well as to be able to communicate with the leads moving forward. So that's what we're working on today, and let's jump in and see what we got going on here. All right. Also, if you're watching, put your name in the comments. I want to say hello to you as I jump in here. And perfect. Let's get into it. Okay, so a couple things. We have the orchestrator on the right side. We have worker threads throughout the middle. What I'm going to do is I'm going to work in the worker threads here for a few minutes so I can talk directly to the different threads and the different employees. I'm using Opus 4.8. Here's the straight answer on the website right now. We go to AIO Assist, log in, left nav, remote. Let me check on that. So I'm going to go over here to Chrome. You may not be able to see the Chrome side just yet. Here, I'll jump that in so you can see it. Going into Chrome. There we go. So what I want it to do is I want it to show up as a card on this dashboard. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to take the screenshot, jump in here. All right, there we go. Turn that up. That should be a little bit better now. Awesome. So we're going to add a card there. Now I'm going to go over here and see where we're at with this. So the idea here is the AIO communication system is really complicated because what we want is we're the email host, so we want the personal hosting, but we also want the organizational hosting. And then on the organizational side, there can be multiple accounts. And so the goal right now is we have this threads system where when we go into threads, you're actually going to be able to see all of the communications that took place in a certain thread. Now, just so you know, anything that you see here, this is all staging information, and I had a problem with YouTube before where I was wanting to take stuff down because it thought we were showing real people's information, but this is just staging information that we're going to show here. So we have these threads. Here's a great example, and what we want is we want everything to show up in order. So these are different emails that are sent. These are phone calls that came in, text messages show up here, and then we're adding meetings in here. But in order for that to work, it's important that we're coding it properly so that it knows what account owns that particular message type. So if I'm going to go to organization here, and we can see that meetings was already working, which is a good thing. All right. And then a key part of this is we have our meetings. And when we create a meeting, the problem is we need the meeting to be owned by a particular account. All right, so this is saying that it's gated. Let's figure out why it's thinking that we want it to be gated. So one thing about this is I'm really not concerned about typos and all that kind of stuff. I take too much time worrying about that. I can just jump in and keep the coding moving. And so again, I'm going to take a screenshot of this and make it clear what I want it to do here. We're going to get that rolling. Now, the other thing we're going to check on here is we're going to go in and we're going to look at communication automations. So what we've done is we've added a new communication node, which is Ray, and this is what is going to allow the AI to jump in and carry on a conversation for us. So we want to limit this right now to what's actually coded in. All right, so to keep on theme, we want this to have toggles. And the idea here is we want to be able to trigger the AI to follow up with a lead. And we want to let it do it however it thinks it's going to be most appropriate. So whether it's sending an SMS, sending an email, we definitely want it to be able to read meeting transcripts, so we don't need that. Move lead stage. Yeah, so we want to change this capabilities functionality here. One thing I'd like to be able to have them get fixed is the need to continuously remind the LLM to use reusable components. And what I mean is I'm not talking about conversation and contextual awareness. I'm talking about it should be part of the model's reasoning natively to know to use reusable components, but we're going to keep telling it that just in case. Yeah, there's too many opportunities here, too many different things here. Let's see. All right, while that's loading up, I'm going to come over here So what we're doing now is we're setting it up so that when we create a meeting, it's going to default to a particular account, and that account's going to own the meeting. And that's important because when it comes to the threads, in order to keep threads private, whether it's an SMS or an email or a meeting, it all needs to live in the same thread. And so the system needs to know who owns that meeting, so what thread should it be in to be able to go in and view it. That's going to be important when it comes to lead follow-up, because the idea is that the AI agent is going to be able to go in and it's going to be able to read the entire conversation thread end to end, and that whole end-to-end thread is going to be considered when the AI decides what action it's going to take next when it comes to lead follow-up. All right, so we hit the Opus 4.8 limits here. I'm going to jump into my other account. Let me jump in here for a second while I take care of that. I think that 4.8 is definitely working a lot better. It's still using a lot of tokens, which is to be expected. But overall, people get upset about the amount of money that it costs and the amount of tokens that it uses. But for what you can do with this compared, we used to have a stack of 10 developers working on this, and so even if you had 10 accounts, you're still saving so much money using Claude. All right, so I'm just getting logged back in. Now, the easiest way to handle this, if you have this with AIO Assist, is you literally just open up a terminal, and you open up Claude on the terminal, run /login, do your login process, and then AIO Assist is automatically going to pick up the new login, and you can continue right where you were. So that's almost done there. Okay, that's done. We'll go back to here. And for now, I'll just tell it to continue. All right, let's go back over here now. All right, this is going to take a minute, so I'm going to go ahead and commit and push that to staging. Now, one of the cool things about AIO.dev, or AIO Assist here, AIO.dev is what it was before we merged it with Assist, but the cool thing here is that we can manage all of our deployment here all in the same system. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and push that. What we've done here is we've set up a pretty big monorepo structure. And that actually makes it a lot easier for us to work within the ecosystem. With AIO Assist, we can work on multiple different projects at the same time, multiple different repos. But the idea here, by keeping so much of the ecosystem in the same monorepo, it allows us to quickly reference different parts of the ecosystem so that they can all communicate together. All right, let's see where this is now. right, we're going to commit and push that to staging. All right, so that's pushed to staging. We're going to go ahead and get this pushed to staging. Now, all I have to do is go to deploy, select staging, click deploy. And now that's going to run. And we're using DigitalOcean, and so that's going to actually, it's going to do the build right here on my computer, and then it's going to push that to the DigitalOcean droplet, and we'll see that here in just a couple of minutes. So one of the things is the application is so huge that running the application in development mode on device is really cumbersome, and that means that when we make particularly UI changes, it gets frustrating because there's not a quick way to be able to see the change. And so what I've done is I've set up a sandbox app which allows me, because of the way the monorepo is structured and because all of these different features or functions within the AIO ecosystem, they're almost treated as separate apps. So I can pull those views into a stripped down sandbox app, run it locally with mock data on the back end, so that I can make quick UI changes and iterations, and then after that's done, I can push it to the main app. So that's a little trick if you are running with a really large application here. All right, another thing that I want to do is when we are actually in an activity thread, let's see here. I want to be able to actually launch a meeting straight from the activity thread. Now I can tell the AI what I want it to do and it'll probably get it, but I want to show it exactly where I'm talking about because we have these quick action buttons that are set up in threads. Let me get it bigger. I can talk to the worker agent, but I'm so used to typing to it here. Let's see. And it should work with the meeting feature. This automatically determines who owns the meeting based on So the idea here is just an easier way to tell the AI who owns that meeting. So if I'm in a thread and I want to have a meeting with someone on video, then I want to be able to click that and get a meeting started and not have to tell it who's going to own the meeting. That's going to make that lead gen and lead follow-up work a lot better. one of the things that I like to do, I mean, we can direct the AI on what we want, but I like to see what the AI comes up with natively, because I've found that sometimes using its terminology works better than trying to tell it what you should call it. And so we have different modes of Ray, and the target that we're working on right now is we want in automations, when we have an automation like this, we are going to be able to choose an agent. And so we want that terminology to be clear on what we want to be able to choose. One of the things too is again, depending on who you ask, this type of work that we're doing, we're really kind of ideating at the same time. And so there are times where I'm very specific and I tell the AI exactly what I want it to do. But right now, what I want the AI to be part of the ideating process with me. And so instead of spending a lot of time trying to figure out how I want to talk to the AI, instead I'm saving that time, because even if it does it wrong, it's easier for me to go back and have it fix it than it is for me to spend the time on describing exactly what I'm trying to accomplish here. So I want to see what it comes up with. Okay, so that's a good point. So it's going to be called role. I mean, we use roles. All right, so we pushed that deploy. We're going to jump back in here and take a look. Okay, so this is better. Still not great on the UI, but what do we want to let it do? Send SMS, send emails, that's fine. Um, let's see. Specialist. Let's use specialist. Cool, so we're going to do that. We're also going to give it this image. Awesome. So that's still working on getting those views loaded into the sandbox. Now, one thing we need to think about, you know what, I'll just talk to it here. One thing that we need to think about is how the host gets assigned. So if, because the organization is not necessarily in the meeting, the person is. So if the organization owns the meeting, then who is the host? And I would think that would still be the person, the operator who launches the meeting. So when we do a meeting, we need the meeting to be owned by a particular account. That's important. For example, the Connect At account, because we need that to be the source that the lead specialist is using to follow up with the lead. But we still need to determine who the personal account is that is the host of the meeting. All right, so that's getting put in there. This is going to be improved. We don't want to do this. One of the things that I found better too, and again, you know, from a lot of experience in development over the last several years, the inclination is to try to do everything right the first time, and it's not that I disagree with that, but the goal, you know, there's this mindset as a developer, and then there's the mindset as a business owner and someone who's pushing to go to market, and the problem notoriously is that the developer mindset is very rigid. The go-to-market mindset doesn't really consider the technical challenges that are required, and so there's really a happy medium. And what I have found that happy medium to be is to be less attentive to the details initially. Let it get the idea of what you're trying to do, start moving in that direction, and then it's easier for the AI to understand what you're trying to do because it can see the direction that you're moving in. So what I'm saying is it's easier to get the AI moving in the direction and then go back and fix whatever it needs to be fixed up, including cleaning up the code base. So I'm really not concerned about burning tokens here at all. What I'm concerned about is getting the best product to market as quickly as possible. And that's what I have found to be the best way to do it for sure. Okay, no code change needed for the host. The org owns the thread. The person runs the room. That's the split you described and intact. Want me to move on to wiring the book meeting quick action button? Yes. So we've built with Ray, we've built a really powerful contextual conversation history model. And when we're talking about adding, it would be really, really easy to just put a system prompt together to perform this lead action. But what we want is we still want it to act like Ray. So we don't want to just whip up a quick system prompt. We want to figure out how much of the base prompt we really want to bring in, and then add on top of that base prompt. That way the functionality of the conversation history, contextualizing, the tier compression, all of that is built into it, because this is an AI that may be having an ongoing conversation with a lead, and we don't want it to lose context of that conversation, and so we want it to keep the same base capability and then add on these additional functions. So let's see what this says. It calls, directly as no skill registry, no tools, no compression, and flat context. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Let's see. Tiered context, flat 20 messages, cap breaks on long live leads, move. Yeah, see, here's the thing. I don't... Alright, let's see. So went through tier message context compression. Awesome, cool. So hey, that was just a little test stream. Wanted to see how this works out. I've got to go and get ready to do some other stuff. I'll probably jump on and do another stream later. Interested to see, is this kind of content that you're looking at seeing? Do you want to know what's going on in the back end? Let me know what you think about this style of video, this style of stream content. Put it in the comments. Make sure you like the channel, subscribe. This is kind of a stripped down, less produced version to kind of show you a little bit of what's going on behind the scenes. Again, let me know what you think, and I will see you next time.